So, Kath, I've been following this page called Good Neuroscience for quite a number of months now, and they have a range of great topics that I love reading and love learning about. And I found one about prayer, and I just thought this is interesting. I would love to have a chat with Kathryn about this.
Fantastic. Well, I'm always open to I love neuroscience and what it
Yeah.
teaches us. And I also love prayer. And I'm
Mm.
super interested to hear about the link between the two and what you've got to share. So bring it on, Al.
Yeah. So I've got the information in front of me. And here's the thing, Kath, you and I have both experienced prayer. We know that it has impacted our life, but there's
Yeah,
something about discovering the science, understanding a bit about what's going on in the brain when we do things. And so
yeah.
that's what really drew my attention to this article. And it talks about that when we practice prayer, with focus and intention. It's linked to the brain circuits. That are linked to attention, emotional control, and calm. And the effects can actually be physically seen in a brain scan. So already that's
Okay.
blowing my mind. You can look at a scan when somebody is praying and see that there are impacts on the brain.
Yeah. So if you're listening, if for just for our listeners listening, there's a thing that's been around quite a while, and you've probably heard it before, but it's called a functional brain scan. And
Mm.
what they do is they, put someone in a brain scanning machine, and then ask the person to uh, consider certain things or think about certain things, or they might give the person material to read or look at or see, or they might ask somebody to remember a painful experience or do some arithmetics, and
Okay.
by doing focusing on these different things, different areas of the brain light
Kind
up.
of light up. Mm.
Yeah, so my assumption is in this case, they would have asked the people in the in the functional MRI machine to pray, and then
Yeah.
would watch what areas of the brain light up while someone is in
Yes.
the practice of prayer. And before we go and unpack this further, I'm just curious, did they mention a definition of prayer or what they mean by prayer at all?
Not at the start. It does go on to talk about the fact that it's not necessarily using spiritual language. So
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
it's prayer to a God of your own understanding, whoever,
Okay.
whatever that looks like for you. So for some people, that might look like gratitude or it might look like a reflective practice, kind of like a meditation type.
Okay.
But for some
Okay.
people, it would be a prayer to their higher power, to God.
Yeah. So it's an intentional focus,
Mm,
focusing our thoughts towards bringing either thanks or petitions or something to
mm.
God. That's my understanding. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain to us. So when
Okay.
we are doing or in this act of prayer, what happens in our brains, Al?
Excellent. And I'm going to pop the information in the show notes so people can go
Yeah.
and have a look at this further. And a particular doctor did this study, exactly what you're talking about, Kath, before, and asking people during prayer. So they asked them to pray and then they watched the brain. So I love that you
Okay.
jumped in and spoke about that. It says that he found increased activity in the frontal lobes, which helps with focus, emotional
Yeah.
regulation, and decision making. Yeah.
That's amazing because we know that the frontal lobe, when we're in a state of anxiety or stress,
Hmm.
that's the area of our brain that gets flooded with, hormones like
Mm.
cortisone, which causes chaos and
Yeah.
anxiety.
And cloudiness
So,
and
and
uncertainty.
cloudiness. So, what I'm hearing you say is that prayer does the opposite. So the frontal
Mm.
lobes light up, but it's in a way that's calming and
Yeah.
brings clarity and focus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
And at the same time, now you're going to have to help me with the pronunciation of this word, Kath.
Okay.
Per parietal lobes.
Parietal, yeah, the
Pari-
parietal lobes, yeah, on the brain of the brain, yeah.
yeah.
So they're kind of on the sides of our head. So the
Okay.
frontal lobes are in the front. That
Yeah.
makes sense, and the
Yes, of
parietal are
course.
kind of on the
On
on
the
the
side.
side, yeah.
So
So
it says that they become less active in prayer. And it
okay,
says that those regions help you track time and a sense of your physical place. So when they quiet down, people often feel more peaceful and deeply connected.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
those lobes are quietening down, allowing us to feel
Hmm.
peaceful and deeply. And the frontal lobe is more active, which is allowing us to have more focus, emotional regulation, decision making. And it says also that prayer helps to calm the amygdala, the
Wow. Okay.
brain's fear center. We've all heard about the
Yeah.
amygdala, and that's the part of our brain that detects, the threats, whether
Yes.
or not they're
Yeah.
real, true threats or not. And when it's overactive, that's when we feel anxious. So it's telling us, the science says that prayer actually actively calms the amygdala.
Yeah.
And it says that repeated prayer reduces activity in the amygdala. So the fear circuits calm down and our body moves out of stress mode and into recovery.
That's beautiful. And it makes complete sense. As I listen to you share this, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But how wonderful to actually have the
Mm,
evidence of this is what's happening in our brain, to understand it. I think it helps to the understanding of why we experience,
yeah.
how we experience, the shift in us when we've been praying. So
Yeah.
that's just
Because there
fascinating.
often is
Yeah.
that very tangible experience that you can't put
Yes.
words to, but we're beginning to see, okay, there is something shifting in ourselves. And this isn't even taking into consideration the relationship that you have with God or your higher power, do you know, like that. it,
Yeah, yeah. This is focusing on prayer, and
on
this
our
is what's
prayer,
happening
our
in your
brain.
brain. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it says here that the changes aren't temporary. The brain is reshaping itself. And we've probably all heard of the process called neuroplasticity. And so
Yes,
it talks
yes,
about how this over repeated time, there is a
yes.
shift and there is a change in our brain, permanent change.
That's fantastic because I can imagine the more we practice this, the more we sort of turn the volume dial down on the amygdala getting all, over anxious and fearful and stressed. And we practice turning the volume dial down.
Mm.
I think our baseline would shift. And so our
Yeah, true.
baseline is one that is more calm and at peace.
Mm.
So when other things interfere or things come our way, we're
Mm.
less reactive if we've been cultivating this
Beautiful.
continued practice of prayer.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow,
that
that is
makes
amazing.
sense.
Yeah, yeah.
It says daily prayer for 8 weeks. So obviously the study went for some time. I don't know all the details of the
Mm,
entire study, but for 8 weeks it led to reduced anxiety,
yeah,
stronger emotional control, and improved sleep. And participants reported greater mental clarity and stability.
yeah,
So yeah, talking about the baseline, you would imagine over a period of
yeah,
8 weeks. It's goes on to say that prayer strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the
yeah,
area that helps you to pause, plan, and respond rather than react. Which obviously is hugely plays a huge role in our emotional resilience.
yeah.
And if we remember that our brain is like lots of little trails,
Yes,
and every time we're repeating behavior, so if we're repeatedly praying, that path becomes more accessible. It becomes more normal to tread on that path. So prayer helps to build this path towards the calm and the regulation. Um, the study is careful to talk about that we don't need a religious language for it to
mm-hmm.
work. So they're speaking that you could be gratitude based or reflective prayer. I
Yes.
think the people in the study, there wasn't a particular religion or a higher power that they were specifically praying to. And it was more just the benefit of the state of prayer.
Okay. And I suppose that makes sense because, I think if you have a conversation, if we were to have a conversation with 10 people around a table
Mm,
about
yeah,
their thoughts on prayer or their definition on prayer or what that means for them, I think we'd get 10 different answers.
yeah.
But if you say to somebody, if we say to all 10 people, we're going to experiment and let's all spend some time in prayer and then let's talk about the expression of the experience after the fact.
Mm,
What 10 different people might be doing during that time might look
yeah,
different, but
yeah.
that's irrelevant. So the study was more whatever you feel that is for you when you activate that, what happens in your brain. is
Yes.
what I'm understanding.
That's exactly right. That's my understanding as well. Um, Prayer is especially helpful for people healing from trauma.
Yeah.
It creates rhythm, structure, which the brain uses to feel safe. So, a particular woman who was recovering from PTSD began praying before bed. After a few months, she had improved sleep. Her panic attacks became less frequent. Her nervous system had a new signal, which was, "You are safe."
Yeah. That's
Um,
beautiful.
it is, and it goes on to talk about that the brain responds to rhythm, repetition, emotionally meaningful practice, and that's prayer.
Yeah, and I think that hits the nail on the head because I think for most people who engage in prayer, it is a meaningful practice.
Mm,
For most people, there's meaning in the practice of praying.
mm,
And as you were sharing there, I was also thinking, this makes so much sense also from the fact that we are wired for safety.
mm,
And this whole, part of the safety piece is the need to feel some kind of control, like what do we have control over versus not. And for me, in my brain, I've linked the words control and choice together.
yeah,
So when we've got choice, there's a sense of,
there's an
oh, there's something
element.
that I can choose to do. And so I think that's the beautiful thing about prayer also is
Mm,
at any time of the day, no matter what you're doing or where you are, it's always a choice. It's always an
yeah,
option. And nobody can take that choice away from you. And so, the sense of it is an area in life where you've got full control as an individual over your
yeah,
prayer life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, there's this beautiful girl that I've been doing a bit of work with for the last, I don't know, 6 months maybe. And she is in a situation that is completely outside of her control. And
Yeah.
she's waiting on information to find out how long she's in this situation for. Everything's
Yes.
outside of her control. But we've been talking about prayer. And she has this peace about her. Like last week, she asked me, she said, Al, how do I pray? Like, what even is prayer? She's been praying the whole time she's there, but
Okay.
she still doesn't really understand. And we were talking
Yeah.
about it. And one thing she can do is pray.
Yeah.
And she has this smile on her face. She possibly shouldn't have a smile on her face. She's in a very
Yes.
difficult situation, but she's got this smile, and there is a peace about this young girl. And I believe, and we've been talking about the science of prayer as well as the spiritual aspect of prayer, and there is power in it. And she has that choice every day, and it's beautiful. It is beautiful to see that that prayer works.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it
That is,
works, but it's beautiful
yeah.
to see it in,
It
in
is.
somebody
And
else.
it's also wonderful because you might be listening and think, oh well, I don't know how to
Mm.
pray, or I need to go and first
Who am I
read about
praying
something
to? I
or
need to
yeah,
understand it
yeah,
all and completely.
yeah, or learn about something before. But the great
Yeah.
news is that you don't,
Mm.
at any time, no matter where you are or what your understanding is, um, it's something that we can all do. And so
Agree.
there's no prerequisite or pre-required
That's a great word.
understanding of anything. So our encouragement of you listening, and it's something that you've not experienced or it's not something that you do.
Mm.
Um, our encouragement is that, yeah, you can, if it's your choice, at any
Mm.
time choose to pray. And it's literally just, uh, well, how would you explain what it is to someone who sort of doesn't understand or doesn't feel they know how?
Mm. It's when I speak to people who ask me that question and they're not sure who they're praying to or what they're praying to or any of those, I think we can all acknowledge there's something higher in this world than ourselves.
Yeah,
And it's coming into that place of realizing we're human, we are flesh, but there's
yeah,
something, there's a longing, and be authentically us. We can be
yeah,
thankful for what we do have in our world. We all can have something to be thankful for, but laying out the troubles in our heart and asking for help, asking for
yeah,
strength. It's having a
yeah,
conversation. And I think the more often we do that, the more often we start to understand that, hey, there's something, someone's listening.
Yeah.
What's that word? I think it
And
was
it's not your cell phone.
no, I'm trying to remember. There's somebody like C.S. Lewis or somebody says, oh, I can't remember who it is. It might be C.S.
Yeah.
Lewis said, interestingly, what happens is the more they pray, the more coincidences happen. And when they don't pray, there's not as many coincidences. And so it's just interesting to see. And I think the more we have this practice of prayer, the more we begin to understand it. We don't have to fully understand it.
Yeah.
I love that you said there's no prerequisites. We show
Yeah.
up as we are. We can just say in our prayer is a conversation. It's just,
Yeah.
you said it earlier to a petition, it's voicing something.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't have to understand it.
Yeah.
But I think over time we begin to. Something shifts. Um, yeah, this will make you smile, this next little bit of science information.
Okay.
It made me smile. It says prayer, when it's paired with either movement or time in nature, the effects deepen. And that makes me smile because there's nothing I love more, really, than being in nature, hiking, looking at the beauty of the world, and having this
Yeah.
deep sense of gratitude and voicing all of the issues of my heart,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it feels powerful.
Yes, you absolutely are spot on with that. And it does it brings a shift, and the shift isn't only for the moment. The shift that it brings, the peace is one that lingers through the rest of the day,
Mm,
which is and gives more resilience for whatever else is going to come your way.
mm.
And now that you've shared what you've shared about what it does in the brain, it makes complete sense that
Yeah.
that's what happens. So it's, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
amazing. And the article sort of finishes off with an encouragement that if you're new to prayer, start small. You don't have
yeah.
to think, oh, I want these benefits. And it's not about
There's
the
no right words.
rules.
Yeah, yeah, there's no
Yeah.
right words, no rules.
No
Yeah.
right or
It,
I love
it's a
you say it all the
heart.
time, Kath. You always say there's no right or wrong, da da da. It's not
Yeah.
about that. It's find a few minutes, 5 minutes, and start the practice of prayer
Yeah.
and pay attention to the shifts that begin to take place in your life, in your heart. And the evidence suggests that your nervous system shifts towards calm, a calmer state.
Yeah.
And in a world that is filled with chaos, and when we've got all of everybody has drama in their life, I want more
Yeah.
calm.
Don't we all? Don't we
Mm,
all? And I'm so grateful that you brought this to the table to share with us today because, you know, um, from a faith perspective or
yeah.
spiritual perspective, I've been privileged to walk in a spiritual sort of have a spiritual journey and have walked in it for many years. But there've been times in my life where I have thought, gosh, does prayer even work? Like, why do I even bother praying?
Yeah.
And so I love that the science, I don't know, for me, like understanding what it does in my brain, like that's evidence
Mm,
enough to go, well, if it's going to bring more calm into the chaos and more peace to my day, then
mm,
yeah, what have you got to lose,
mm.
And yeah, the experience for me has always been that it absolutely does work.
Yes,
Because whenever I've
agreed.
sort of said, oh, well, I'm going to do this anyway, the benefits and the coincidences,
Yeah.
are always more. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that encouragement. That was really
Yeah.
encouraging.
I
Yeah.
loved it. I love that our body is created so beautifully and intricately that we have this, yeah, that everything was thought of when our body was
Yeah.
created.
There's a purpose for everything.
There is
There's
a
an intention
purpose.
behind everything. It's not just by accident. Yeah.
No, and it's not by accident that we have this pull or call towards reaching out to something higher than ourselves.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's
The
how
inner
we're
longing to
created.
connect with something greater, for sure.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So I thought it was beautiful, definitely worth sharing. And I will
Absolutely.
pop it in I'll put some information in the show notes for anybody interested in following them along. Because, yeah, talk about the benefits of, things like exercise and fasting and all the things that I love to learn about.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and we all know I'm not a details person, so I forget And I like to read it. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, well, thanks for bringing that. And if you're listening, we'd love to hear from you. So we'd love
Mm,
to hear your stories of, how have you found prayer works and the benefits in your world if you're someone that
mm,
has a history of being, of prayerfulness. And if you haven't, our encouragement is to give it a
mm.
go,
Yeah.
and we'd love to hear what your thoughts are, how it impacts you,
Yeah.
the difference it makes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Excellent. Well, thanks for letting me share that bit of information and look forward to chatting with you again soon. Hey.
Yeah. See you next week,
All
Al.
right. Bless you.
Cheers.